Hey everyone, today I want to cover a topic that has been requested from my email subscribers, my YouTube viewers, and it is a highly popular topic nowadays, which is should you go to college? Or for my UK viewers, should you go to university? Now this is a topic that I think is fairly cut and dry when you get down to it and you look at all the thorough sides, but there is a good amount of opinions on this. Tucker Max and Gary Vaynerchuk, two big entrepreneurs on social media, have come out and really gave their opinions on why you usually shouldn't go to college. So I kind of want to cover the angle from all the different sides to it and all the different factors that you want to consider to give you a good answer. So let's just get started. So if you want to have a very specialized job title and you have already decided thoroughly that you want to go after this job title, such as doctor, engineer, lawyer, physical therapist, even veterinarian, these occupations require a postgraduate graduatory school, usually vet school, med school, law school. And those require very specialized skills, so definitely go to college for that and definitely go to law school or med school after that, because that's really the only way to get that very highly specialized, rigorous training. But again, if you're a high school student thinking about this, or you're still a freshman in college, or you're thinking about dropping out, the thing is, most people, and I was pre-med so I know this, most people tend to drop out and change their mind after the first 1 or 2 years. Really the big turning points are the weed out classes, such as organic chemistry. Once people take that class, it's usually a big turning point to weed out the people who are truly committed and truly passionate enough to pursue some of these specialized job titles. So you may think that I'm definitely going to be a doctor, but then you may change your mind later down the line. So it's not guaranteed, but you'll see how my overall thesis is that you should usually still go to college anyways. So it doesn't really matter, but if you really, not thinking about going, that's something to consider. So outside of specialized job titles, where else should you be interested in going to college? Well, the networking aspect is another huge factor to play into this. This is mainly for people who are interested in going to business school, which is another graduatory school, and it's usually a 2-year program after college. And with business school, you don't technically go there anymore for business education. Now, this is a point that Gary Vaynerchuk and Jack Welch agree upon, and I side with. They actually were both on a YouTube video together at Gary's headquarters, and Jack Welch, one of the top CEOs of all time, he went on to say that nowadays the value of a business school is only if you can get into the top 5. Anything outside of that, the value dramatically diminishes. Many corporations or business schools are just there to make money, and the thing is, almost all of their content that they teach is now available online, and you can learn for free or at a fraction of the cost. So look at University of Pennsylvania Business School. They released their full first year of courses online for free, as do many other business schools. And it's usually stuff like principles of accounting. Like, this is stuff that you can learn on your own time if you hustle hard enough. You don't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars to do so. And when it comes to business school, it's probably one of the most expensive schools next to med school. So really, your goal is to really get into that top 5 school. You definitely want to go, but it's mainly for the networking component behind it, not the content. And this is something that a lot of people who are going to business school that I know or in business school have told me. So it's important to understand that, and you can apply this to college as well. Some people say, well, what's the purpose of college? Because a lot of the stuff you learn there is not really applicable outside of college. And I've talked to many professionals, I've reached out to them on LinkedIn from many different industries, and you'll hear the same thing. Oh, I majored in English, but now I'm doing something completely in a different field in biotech, and most of the stuff I learned in college isn't of use outside of college. This is the same case for me. I studied a lot of science. 90% of that is no longer applicable to what I do on a daily basis with my job as a digital marketer. So you can kind of see how some of the content isn't necessarily why you want to go to school, but the networking is. So if you can get into an Ivy League school, you should, because guess what? That's where you'll get the networking. You'll be working with high achieving people. And even a state university has a lot of these opportunities. I met a lot of really smart people who went to state universities, and just because of finances, they couldn't make it to an Ivy League, or because of some other reason, but they were super hardworking, super smart individuals, and high performers. So you can meet a lot of these great people and work with them if you're intentional about your efforts, and you actually go there and you make friends with them and network with them, and you know that that's part of your experience at a school. So that's another factor to play into the equation. Now, I've also factored in what Jason Fried's book Rework has said. He mentioned, he has a whole chapter on how when you're interviewing people, you should not emphasize Ivy League over state university. There's this whole debate about, well, are the Ivy League schools, the schools that are rated at the top 50 or top 10 in the world, are those really better than state universities? And Jason Fried would pretty much said that the Fortune 500 CEOs, more of them came from state universities than from Ivy Leagues. However, I do still think there's a great amount of value to both institutions. I would still prefer an Ivy League over the others. When you look at a lot of these successful people, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, all these individuals who came from Ivy Leagues, and quite frankly, no matter what anyone says, you're not going to change the mind of the nation, the marketplace on this. I get a decent amount of emails and messages from students, Asian immigrant parents, or just people in general. I got people from Europe, Canada, Africa, and they know the value of college and Ivy League schools, or just going to college in general. So you're not going to change their mind on this. They know the value, they're going regardless. So it's really, this is more for the people who care about going to college because they're trying to start a business, or they're trying to do something else on the side, who they're not really sure yet. So the question really comes to the last big factor to equation, and this is really what it comes down to for these people, which is regret, feeling like you missed out, and the rite of passage and experience. These are really the areas, the more personal life areas that you care about. And you get a lot of these successful people who come on shows like Tim Ferriss, and they're already extremely successful. Shakira is one. Carly Kloss recently just went on Tim Ferriss's show and talked about how she was going back to college because she was a supermodel as a young kid and skipped college. And it really wasn't for the education thing. It was really for the feeling of that she missed out, and almost compensating for the fact that she felt like maybe she had to learn something because she didn't have that degree and self-worth behind it. So there's nothing wrong with that, but ultimately, if you're going to go back and do it anyways, there's that time cost that isn't really a time cost there, and so you have to factor that into equation. If you're going to do it later in life, might as well do it earlier when you're still young and all your classmates are young too. Otherwise, if you don't care about the personal aspects and you're just worried about the time cost, you have to realize that you can always go back to school once you are more successful and established, like Shakira did, like Carly Kloss, and many others have done. But you have to realize that sometimes it's not about what you actually learn in the school, because nowadays, thanks to the power of the internet, the power of social media, power of online course websites like Udemy and other institutions like UPenn and iTunes University that are releasing their entire course load online for free, many of which I've taken just to like see what it's like to learn from Harvard or other places, you start to realize that it's no longer about the content of what you learn for the most part, unless you're going to med school or somewhere else where it's still proprietary information. For the most part, it's more about just how much you hustle and how much you squeeze the juice out of the information available to you for free, or at a much cheaper cost on the internet. So think about that. Let's just be frank. It's kind of weird if you don't go to college. So if you're interested in the personal life aspect, if you really want to party it up and go to Greek life and join a fraternity or sorority, or you always regret it and wonder what if, or like how the parties are like at an actual college, because trust me, usually they're a lot tamer and different than what you see on Hollywood movies. So if you really just want to kill that, what if, and you're dying to really have that experience so you don't regret it later in life, like many actors and celebrities who skipped college because of work and overcompensate in some way, then go to college, because 99% of my high school classmates went to college, and it's weird to not go to college. Yes, you may not be learning anything that will be truly that effective to you later in life, but you will be honing your work ethic, you will be honing your academic experience if you choose to do so, you will be honing your ability to learn and retain information if you choose to do so and you actually work hard in school, or if you're just really interested in having a personal life and being amongst people your age and dating and meeting people and having fun in school. That's something that shouldn't be factored out of the equation. It should be something you consider, because it is important. You want to not have those regrets of, man, I wish I went to college, not because I didn't learn enough, but because I wanted to see if I could, fool around and party more. So that's definitely something that should be considered. And there's all wide varieties of different types of schools, from the more conservative to the more party schools. Or if you're not interested in parties, there's other parts of school other than partying. There's recreational sports leagues. Maybe that's what you're regretting, or maybe it's the chess corporation or club of a certain school, or Harvard Crimson, that very established student press organization that has impacted the school so much. Maybe you're really into writing and news. There's all these different extracurriculars and parts of college beyond the activities. So in conclusion, I still think you should go to college. I do think that over time, college will become more irrelevant in terms of its use, but in terms of the standard life cycle of a human and just feeling like, part of, like, you've lived a fulfilled life, it's still ingrained into American society and what most people do. I do think still that, and I'm working on this myself, like you have to let go of this stigma that if you don't go to college, that you're a lesser being. It's still there, and it still will be there for quite a while. I see a lot. I'm guilty of looking at people like this, but I'm definitely working on it, because that's definitely not always the case. But it is there, so you have to keep that in mind, and you can potentially compensate and prove people wrong. But there is a bit of an uphill battle if you do so, and I've definitely made sure to not do that with people I meet who tell me that they didn't go to college anymore. But you still see it tremendously from some of my other Asian peers, and even more so into graduate and postgraduate school. I know this one Asian girl who was a classmate, and literally I just saw in her facial expressions and how she like turned away when I told her that I was not going. I chose not to go to any postgraduate school. And no, some of them are very closed-minded. They don't let you explain. They don't really see the possibilities. But just keep in mind that it is one of those things, and you can still succeed for sure if you don't go to college. But I generally still recommend it. Kevin Plank, founder of Under Armour, he still did a lot with his business while in college on the side. And so with the one thing with college is that a degree still carries some amount of value, and by having it there, it can serve as a backup plan if your business fails. That way you get the best of both worlds while reducing the downside. Just like Michael Dell did when he started his company, just like Mark Zuckerberg, just like Bill Gates. If their company failed, they could always return to college. So keep that in mind, and more so than anything though, if you are developing truly marketable, useful skills and constantly honing them in the marketplace, it doesn't, certifications and so forth are more of like a political, social thing that in certain circumstances are useful, but in others are more of just like, icing on the cake. What really matters is, can you deliver the value that people want in all the forms it applies. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Hope it helped. To conclude, if you're confused, I would basically saying, for the most part, you want to go to college unless you're really adamant about starting a business and you don't care about the social or personal aspects of college. Thanks for watching. See you later.